I met Sarah 3 years ago at a church volunteer event. She was standing by a table of canned goods, laughing too loudly. Her hair was messy, her hands busy, and her eyes impossible to ignore. I carried boxes just to stay near her. She said thank you like it mattered. We talked about nothing for hours, and it felt like everything. Her family was strict. No sleepovers, no bad words, no bending rules. Her father was a deacon, with a stare that could slice through lies. I tried to impress him by talking about discipline and service. He nodded once, like granting a permit. Sarah's mother smiled politely, but guarded every sentence. I thought it was love wrapped in structure. I was wrong. We dated for 2.5 years. Every Sunday, I sat beside her in the same wooden pew. Her hand would brush mine, just enough to feel like a promise. We dreamed out loud about a small house, a dog, maybe 2 kids. She said she wanted something stable, something pure. I told her I could build that with her. Then the military called, and I left. Basic training felt easier than missing her. She wrote letters every week. Little hearts in the corners, words that felt soft and real. She called me her soldier, her forever, her safe place. I believed her. When I came home, she ran into my arms at the airport. She smelled like home. She cried and said she never wanted to spend another day apart. We went to dinner, held hands like we were teenagers again. Everything felt right until it didn't. A week later, she told me she was pregnant. Her voice shook, eyes bright, smile trembling. I froze, then laughed, then held her. I thought it was joy. It was relief. She said, "We're having a baby." I said, "Then we're getting married." Her family's pressure hit fast. Her father said, "You'll do the right thing." Her mother started planning before we even picked a date. Sarah looked nervous but agreed. I bought a ring I couldn't afford. The jeweler called me a good man. I wanted to believe it. I planned a proposal with candles, a park, and a broken Bluetooth speaker. She cried when I asked. She said yes like it was a rescue. That night, I wrote out a budget. Ring, crib, insurance, diapers, everything else. I called it my battle plan for fatherhood. She called me adorable. Her family called me a blessing. For the first time in my life, I felt chosen. But beneath every plan, something small and sour was growing. The way she checked her phone during dinner. The way she smiled, but didn't look at me. I told myself love meant trust. So I trusted her. And that's how I missed the first crack forming in our story. At first, everything seemed fine. Sarah was glowing, nesting, making lists of baby names. I worked extra shifts, saving every dollar I could. We talked about wedding venues and color themes. She wanted something small, maybe after the baby came. I wanted to give her the world. Then little things began to feel strange. She started coming home later. Her phone always in her hand, always face down. When I asked, she said work was crazy. She told me she picked up night shifts at a diner. A diner I had never heard of. I asked the name. She said it moved around. Pop-up style, cash only. I laughed and said that sounded sketchy. She laughed too, but not with her eyes. I told myself she was just tired. Pregnancy hormones, I thought. I wanted to be patient, not paranoid. But the silence between us grew heavier. She stopped talking about the wedding. Her excitement faded into routine. Her hugs were quick, her kisses distracted. Sometimes she came home smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. Not hers. I noticed but said nothing. Because love, real love, forgives small things. At least, that's what I told myself. One night, I found her in the kitchen whispering on the phone. She said, "No, he doesn't know." When I stepped closer, she turned away. It was just Sally, her coworker. But her hands were shaking. Later, when she slept, I checked her phone. Locked, new code. My chest tightened. I wanted to believe she had nothing to hide. I wanted to believe more than I wanted the truth. At her parents' house, I overheard her talking to her sister. "Did you tell him where you work?" her sister asked. Sarah snapped. "Are you insane? He'd lose his mind." I froze behind the hallway wall, heart pounding. The floor might as well have dropped beneath me. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I smiled through dinner like everything was fine. I started taking notes, times, messages, odd behavior. Not anger, evidence. Because proof lasts longer than promises. That night, she confessed. "I got a new job, private venue, cash tips, easy money." I nodded and pretended to believe her. Her voice was calm, practiced. The kind of calm that comes with lying often. She kissed my cheek, said, "Trust me." And I did. For a little longer. But doubt never sleeps. It lingers. Every time she left the house with that same bag, I wondered. Every time her phone buzzed, I flinched. Love turned into waiting, waiting for her to come home, waiting for the truth. And the truth always comes, no matter how deep you bury it. I just didn't know yet how much it would cost me when it did. The night she went into labor, I drove like a man possessed. Red lights blurred. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Sarah screamed between breaths, clutching my arm. I told her to breathe, even though I could barely breathe myself. At the hospital, nurses rushed in like a practice storm. Machines beeped, lights glared, and everything felt unreal. Hours passed, then the cry came. A baby boy. Everyone smiled, everyone except my gut. I looked at him, and the world tilted. Not my eyes, not my hair, not my skin. He was perfect, but he wasn't mine. I tried to ignore it. I told myself, all Bobbies look the same at first. Sarah looked radiant, proud, exhausted. She kissed his forehead and called him, "Our little miracle." I forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Her parents came in, praising God and family. Her mother said, "He has your calm." Her father said, "He's a strong boy like his dad." The words stabbed, slow and deliberate. I nodded, pretending to believe them. But inside, a quiet storm began. That night, while Sarah slept, I opened my phone. I searched paternity test kit. Ordered one, overnight shipping. When it arrived, I waited until she napped. I took a sample from the baby's pacifier. My hands trembled the entire time. I mailed it in silence, no return address, no second thoughts. A week later, the email came. The subject line said, "Results available." I hesitated before opening it. Then I clicked. 0%. My vision blurred. My chest felt hollow. I read it again, slower this time. Still 0%. I wasn't the father. Every late night, every lie, every strange phone call, it all fit. The diner, the new perfume, the secret job. All of it. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wall for an hour. The baby monitor hummed beside me. I could hear him breathing softly in the next room. A life that wasn't mine, but still somehow tethered to me. Sarah woke later and smiled, asking what was wrong. I said I was just tired. She mentioned wanting to marry soon. Said her parents were asking for a date. I told her I'd handle it. I spoke softly, calmly, like a man rehearsing for war. That night, I scheduled an official court-grade DNA test. Chain of custody, evidence that would stand. No rumors, no guessing. Just truth on paper. The kind you can't argue with. While she slept beside me, her phone buzzed again. I didn't look, I didn't need to. Because once you've seen the truth, you stop fearing the noise. You just start planning what comes next. Friday came like a dare. She said she had another late shift. Same bag, same excuse, same fake smile. I told her to drive safe and kissed her cheek. Then I followed her. Not out of anger, but out of certainty. The kind that grows when denial finally dies. She drove 2 towns over, past gas stations and quiet streets. Stopped at a place called the Velvet Room, a gentleman's club glowing in neon red. I watched her walk inside like she belonged there. The bouncer nodded, called her by name. No diner in sight. No food smells, just smoke and cheap perfume. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel. Everything I believed in folded in half right there. I took pictures. The sign, the door, the time. Proof, not revenge. When she came out hours later, she wasn't wearing the same face. The woman who waved goodbye earlier was gone. This one was confident, painted, practiced. She laughed with 2 other girls, head thrown back like nothing hurt. I wanted to scream, but silence felt sharper. When she walked in that night, I was waiting. She froze for half a second. Then smiled. "You're still up." I said, "Yeah, long night at the diner." Her eyes flickered. I showed her the photos on my phone. She didn't even blink. "So you followed me," she said. "Congratulations, detective." "You lied," I said. "I protected you," she snapped. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me." She crossed her arms. "I dance, big deal, it's good money." "You could have told me." "You would have tried to stop me. I don't need permission." The words hit like bullets, slow and loud. I stood there, calm, empty, finished. She said, "You'll still pay child support. That's how it works." I laughed once, dry and cold. "Not when I'm not the father." Her smirk cracked. "What are you talking about?" "I did a test." Her face drained of color. "You had no right." "I had every right to know whose life I was paying for." She shouted, cursed, threw her ring across the room. It hit the wall, bounced once, rolled under the couch. I told her to pack her things. She called me a coward, a control freak, a broken soldier. I said nothing. When she slammed the door, it sounded like freedom. Later that night, I gathered the baby's things into boxes. Diapers, toys, tiny socks. I set them in the spare room, untouched. Not out of anger, but respect for what I thought was real. The next morning, I printed the DNA results. 1 page, black and white. No doubt, no maybe. The proof that love had been replaced by evidence. And I finally stopped wondering who I was in her story. I wasn't the villain. I just wasn't the father. The official DNA test came back the next week. Chain of custody, court verified. 0.00%. The numbers looked like freedom printed in black ink. I took the results to my lawyer. He didn't even blink. "This ends today," he said. We filed to establish non-paternity and cancel all obligations. No child support, no marriage, no tie. The court date was set. Sarah didn't show up for the first hearing. She sent a text saying I was cruel and heartless. I ignored it. Then one Wednesday morning, she showed up at my job. I sell trucks. Bright lights, open floor, lots of glass. She walked in like a storm in heels. Her eyes were wild, her voice shaking with rage. "You ruined everything," she shouted. Customers stopped talking. My manager froze. Before I could speak, she grabbed a vase from the lobby table. She threw it. It missed my head by inches and shattered near my arm. A shard cut me, just deep enough to sting. Security moved fast, guiding her out the door. I stood there bleeding and oddly calm. My manager whispered, "Document everything." I smiled, already started. I filed a police report that afternoon. Filed for a restraining order the same day. In my state, it's civil, not criminal, but it has teeth. The judge granted a temporary order immediately. No contact, no workplace visits. Hearing set in 2 weeks. I printed photos of my arm and the broken vase. Attached the report and medical bill. My lawyer called it paper revenge. The kind that doesn't burn bridges, it buries them. When the day came, I wore my cleanest shirt and steady face. Sarah tried to play victim. She cried, said I stalked her, said I ruined her life. The judge wasn't moved. He asked for evidence. I handed him the report, the photos, the video stills. Restraining order granted, he said. 1 year, no contact. She glared at me like she could set the room on fire. I didn't flinch. After that, I filed a small claims case. Property damage, medical cost, and one afternoon's lost wages. $629 total. The judge asked if she threw the vase. She said yes, but barely missed. He didn't laugh. Judgment in my favor. Pay within 30 days. If not, wages could be garnished. I didn't want the money. I wanted the line drawn. After court, I went home and cleaned the blood off my sleeve. The stain faded, but the calm stayed. That night, I slept through until morning for the first time in months. Not because I won. Because I finally stopped fighting for someone who never fought for me. Sometimes justice isn't loud. It's a quiet signature and a heavy stamp. After the hearings, everything went quiet. The kind of quiet that feels heavy, not peaceful. Sarah disappeared from my life like smoke. Her parents stopped calling for a while. Then a letter arrived. Pages filled with Bible verses and regret. They said they were sorry for the pressure, for believing lies. I didn't frame it. I folded it and filed it away. Proof again, that truth eventually wins. I cleaned my apartment from top to bottom. Took down the wedding board, threw away the plans. I packed every baby item into boxes. Diapers, bottles, tiny socks, unused toys. I sold them to a coworker whose wife had just given birth. He cried when I refused payment. I didn't. I'd already paid enough for someone else's story. I changed my locks, updated my passwords, closed every joint account and froze my credit. Erased her from emergency contacts. It wasn't about anger anymore. It was maintenance. A way to rebuild from the inside out. I returned the engagement ring. The refund wasn't full, but it felt like closure. I bought a new mattress and slept like a man unchained. Her online posts popped up sometimes. Vague lines about toxic men and freedom. People commented hearts and strength emojis. They didn't know the truth, but I didn't correct them. Silence was my peace treaty. Her father called once, voice low and tired. He said she moved away, started over somewhere new. I told him I hoped she'd find honesty there. He said, "You deserved better." I didn't argue. Every morning, I built new routines. Gym before sunrise. Coffee with no phone nearby. Evenings filled with quiet music and clean dishes. Healing wasn't dramatic. It was boring, repetitive, steady. But boring feels like heaven after chaos. Sometimes I'd think about the baby. Not with hate, just with distance. A life that wasn't mine, a truth that saved me. I realized revenge had never been the goal. Accountability was. And I'd won that battle on paper, not in rage. I stopped checking her social media. Stopped explaining my side of the story. The people who mattered already knew. The rest didn't need to. Months later, I moved apartments. New walls, new street, new start. No memories hiding in corners. No ghosts in the closet. Just quiet, clean air and room to breathe. One night, her sister texted. Just 2 words, "I'm sorry." I replied, "Me too." Nothing more needed. I turned off my phone and looked around. The room was still. The lights soft. For the first time, I felt something close to peace. Not victory, not revenge. Just freedom that finally felt earned. Weeks later, she texted again. We could still make this work. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I sent back a picture of the restraining order. The part that said no contact. She replied with a crying emoji. I archived the conversation and never opened it again. There was nothing left to fix. Some stories don't need redemption. They just need an ending. I sat on my couch that night, lights low, air still. For the first time, my phone lay face up. No secrets buzzing underneath. No lies waiting to wake me. I thought about the man I used to be. The one who believed love could survive anything. Now I know better. Love can't survive lies. And truth doesn't need an apology. I didn't get revenge with fire. I got it with evidence, patience, and a notary stamp. That's all it took to end a storm. I sleep now. Deep, steady, unshaken. The kind of sleep that only comes after the truth wins. And if you ask me whether it was worth it, I'd say yes. Every scar, every paper, every silence. Worth it,